Hey Fish Dragons, I'm back. So I'm here for the second half of my November wrap-up. Can't believe we're in the month of November. November was a rather busy month, so I'm actually proud that I read 22 things. A lot of audiobooks. It was definitely a weird month. It was a busy month. I had a trip planned. It was Thanksgiving, a lot of Christmas crafting, so it was a lot of audiobooks. But also just a busy month as always. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about the last couple of books that I read in the month and any entertainment things that I did. I didn't do a lot this month entertainment wise. Like I did a few little things, but nothing that's like, massively big. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that at the end, just so I stay accountable. So overall stats for the month is I read 22 things. I read 6,385 pages. On average, I read 212 pages a day. Page count is 290. I had a lot of small books, especially part of that holiday novella collection I will talk about in this video. Romance was my most read genre. I read 3 books of that and 16 from authors I've read before. I had 3 5 stars, 15 4 stars, 3 3 stars, and 1 2 star for an average rate of a 3.91. I read 18 new releases, 0 backlist, and 4 from last year. I definitely read some physical, but I read 15 audiobooks, 3 mixed media, and 4 ebooks. So I had a lot of ebooks this month, like Kindle related things. I started 4 series, I continued in 5, I completed 2, and I caught up with 2, and I read 9 standalones. The one series I completed was definitely like the novella collection, but I just count that as a series because to me it's like a companion series. And then I read 1 ARC, 8 from Audible, 6 from KU, 1 from the library, and 2 NetGalley, 2 owned, and 1 on Everand. So it's a pretty good stat overall. And then the first book I read, actually coming home from Y'all Fest, I finished up was I don't remember. I think my books are a little bit out of order, but I finished Dating and Dragons by Christy Boyce. I will attach a photo here. This is an early 2025 book, but I read Dungeons and Drama as my first book of the year, and I adored it. I will say this one didn't live up to the hype. I think that because it didn't follow the exact set of characters, I think I was missing a little bit of the dynamics. But it is very like D&D inspired, and I had a fun time with it. It just wasn't like a new favorite. But it was followed this girl. She had a bad breakup with her old D&D gang, so she kind of moved to a new town and gets caught up in this new D&D gang that kind of streams their campaigns kind of like Critical Role, and she winds up falling for a boy in the group, but there's one rule: you can't date the people in the group because it causes bad blood. I had a really fun time with this book. I gave it 4 stars, and I am excited for other people to read it. I do recommend you read Dungeons and Drama because that book was so adorable. I gave that 5 stars. It was it's going to be on my top books of the year by far. But yeah. No. Sorry, my mom was calling me. But then I was kind of doing a little bit of a reading vlog for Romantasy, and I don't think I loved any of the books in that series, the vlog I did, but I did wind up reading A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft, and I did not like this book. I gave this book a low 3, maybe more like a 2.5 star. I don't feel like this is a Romantasy. I feel like this is a very slow fantasy book with a romance subplot, and I think you can maybe even call this cozy, but it's the boring cozy. It is not my favorite. I think I struggle with the romance. I didn't feel connected to the characters, and I don't think it's Romantasy. I have really struggled with Alison Saft's writing. I didn't love A Fragile Enchantment, but that was a historical romance. I didn't love this, but this was more of a Romantasy. I do not know if I'm going to like her backlist, but I really want to like her stuff. Like, her concepts seem so cool. I'm just not invested in the writing. But I will give you a little bit of the premise in case this book does sound interesting, but I only gave it 2.5 stars. It follows these 2 characters who, are on this, like, trip, on this adventure I'm convoluted, like, why it's happening, and they're they're very, very antagonistic towards each other. One is a folklorist and one is an academic rival, and they have to solve their mentor's murder in this lush fantasy, sapphic fantasy romance. So, yeah, it just didn't work for me. I'm so sad because this book was signed to me by my friend. She went to San Diego Comic-Con and got it for me, and I just didn't love it. So, only 2.5 stars. It may make my least favorite books of the year list. We will see how that look shapes out, but this one I wasn't a big fan of. And the next book that I read was for the romance vlog, reading Goodreads, favorite reads. I picked up The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I will touch a photo here. And I gave this book 4 stars. This was a really, really fun time. It's a fake dating romance, which was fun with a tropical setting. You have a main character, and they were married for a few years to get academic housing because they had to be married to get this housing. And then after that, they kind of like went their separate ways, and they thought they got a divorce. But the guy is very, very wealthy. He comes from a very, very wealthy family, and he had to stay married for 5 years to get access to his inheritance. So they never actually technically divorced. She signed the papers, but she didn't read them. She didn't read them that closely. And then 4.5 years later, he comes back and says, look, we're not divorced yet. I need you to come to my family's wedding so that this marriage will seem legitimate, and they won't try to take my inheritance from me. And things kind of go from there. I love the setting. If you liked The Unhoneymooners, if you liked Crazy Rich Asians, I think you would like this book. I gave it 4 stars, and it was a really, really fun time. And this was a fun book in that vlog. I really had a great time with it. And then the next book in that romantasy vlog that I really, really struggled with, I'm going to be honest. I still have to, actually I don't even think I posted that vlog yet. I still need to read one more book for it, so you actually haven't seen it. I read The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee, and I will attach a photo here. This was another 3-star book for me, and I think I like the first half a lot. Basically, you have this character. She is kind of running away from her life. She got kidnapped. She was the king's daughter, but she kind of escaped, and people don't like her, but she's kind of running and on the run, and she's kind of hiding. And then she gets taken by the resistance, and she kind of gets sucked up to that, but they don't really know who she is, and it becomes a romantic time with the guy that kind of kidnapped her and is kind of using her in the resistance. And I like the first half, so that was very, very interesting, but I didn't like the second half where it got really, really romance heavy. I know people did not like the second book, so I don't know if I'm going to continue, but it's also really, really short, so I may pick up the audiobook now that it's out. But I struggled with this one a little bit, so I only gave this book 3 stars, and I wasn't that impressed with this section in the romantasy. But I know people have loved this book. I just was not a big fan. And then I'm gonna go through these quickly because I do have a vlog up on my channel where I read the Christmas novellas for the holiday versions by Amazon. So I'm just gonna tell you real quickly what books I read. I read Merry Ever After by Tessa Bailey that I gave 4 stars to. Then I read Only Santa's in the Building by Alexis Daria that I gave 4.5 stars to. Then I read Just by My Elf by Olivia Dade that I gave 4 stars to. Then I read Merriment and Mayhem by Alexandra Bellafour that I gave 2 stars to. Definitely my least favorite in this whole collection, and I just think this is the one that, unlike all the others, as I said in my vlog, all the others I felt like had history for being short. They really weren't love at first sight. They really had a depth to them and a history to them. But this one did not, and I think that this suffered from insta-love and too short. But the other books, I really did like. This is my least favorite, and I think it is why I sort of despise novellas, because you don't get the history, you don't get the connection between the characters. And then the last one is the first one that I read that I adored, and I gave this one 5 stars, and that is A Cruel Winter with You by Allie Hazelwood. I gave this one 5 stars. I love this book so, 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 so much, and I would love to see these characters again in another novella. But here's the cover for that one. And I do have a vlog on my channel where I talk about all these over Thanksgiving weekend, so be sure to check that out. I think it's day 2 of BookMas. And then I read The Nightmare Before Christmas by Sarah Rosh. I got this book from Comic-Con with the straight pages, and I thought this book was a fun time once I picked up the audiobook. It's a really unique romantasy, and I think that the other books in the series are going to be super fun. But basically you find the Prince of Christmas. He and his brother and his dad are kind of the leaders in all the holidays. All the holidays have a kingdom. His best friend is the Princess of Easter, and his dad wants to kind of set him up on arranged marriage to marry his best friend, the Prince of Easter. And Halloween is not happy, so the Halloween prince comes to town, but little does Nick know he made out with the Prince of Halloween a year before, and things kind of go from there. And I really liked this book once I picked up the audiobook. I felt like it was a little bit dry when I was physically reading it, but once I picked up the audiobook and I could hear the banter in my ears, I loved it, and I gave it 4 stars. And I'm really excited for book 2 because it follows the brother, and I like the brother in this book quite a bit. So this book was a 4-star read for me. And then the next book and the last book I picked up in the month was The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter, and I gave this book a solid 4 stars. I listened to this book pretty much in one day. Like, I listened to this book so fast. I was doing Christmas shopping and I brought this with me, and I had a really, really fun time with this book. You basically follow these 2 characters. They are both authors, and they get sent to their, like a very, very famous author's house. They don't know why. They're kind of here. They have history between these 2 people that, like, they don't know about, and then the person in this house, this author, goes missing, and they have to kind of uncover what's happening. And gave this book 4 stars. Definitely my favorite book I've read by this new version of Ali Carter. I didn't love Blonde Identity, but this one was a really, really fun time. If you're like kind of a unique take on a Christmas romance, I would pick this book up. So yeah, that is all the books I read in the second half of November. And then TV wise, I started watching General Hospital again. I have been a long time General Hospital fan for many, 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 many years. But once I went back to work, like working like 7 years ago, I stopped watching GH because I was just so busy. But one of my favorite actresses, Alexa Havens, got cast as Lulu, and I love her. She was on All My Children, like back in the day, as Babe, with the big baby swap storyline. And I did not realize that Spinelli and Maxie were back, so now I'm watching General Hospital. I'm trying to catch up. It's been about 3 weeks that I've been watching pretty intensely, and I have to admit, I'm having a really, really fun time with my watching. So. And then I also am watching Nobody Wants This with Kristen Bell and the guy Seth Cohen, Adrian Brody, I think. I'm having a fun time. That was such a fun comedy. I don't often watch comedy TV shows. That one was fun. And then I'm in the middle of watching Outlander and Discovery Witches, but I just started those, so I am not too far in. But yeah, let me know in the comments what was your favorite read of the month of November. I would love to know. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.